Today in r/malicious compliance. You and your decrepit belief system. I just remembered this while reading another post from way back in the high school days where the only form of compliance was malicious compliance. I think this fits, but let me know if it doesn't. So it was my junior year of high school, and that meant I had to go through Brit-Lit. I say it that way, not because Brit-Lit is inherently bad in any way, but because the teacher was the infamous Mrs. She-Devil. For context, I went to a private Catholic high school where teachers had the liberty of working religious lessons into their curriculum as they saw fit, and Mrs. She-Devil was notorious for tenuously charged rants about Christian morality into every unit. Fast forward about half the year, and we were on our unit about Macbeth. Our assignment was to write journal entries based on daily prompts that related to both our lives and the lives of the characters in Macbeth. We hit a point in the story where one character, I don't remember the story clearly, goes on a furious rampage. The prompt for that day was to write about a situation in our own life where something had driven us to the point of fury. I was kind of stumped on what to write about since I'm a fairly mild individual. That is, until she started her lecture. She begins to teach about the immorality of homosexuality and about how it is a cardinal sin, and how at best it is God testing an individual to make lifestyle changes to be right in his eyes. I was already pretty heated about this 20-minute-long lecture when someone raised their hand and asked, "What if you have a child that is gay? What should you do?" And Mrs. She-Devil replies, "Well, what would you do if your child was running out into a busy street? You would try to stop them, right?" And the image of her smug face as she believed she had perfectly answered the question in metaphor is still burned into my memory to this day. I was absolutely livid, and through my rage I mustered a small smirk because I realized that this was perfect. As soon as that class was over, I went to work on my journal entry about a time where I was driven to the point of fury, namely 5 minutes ago when I had to listen to a lecture about how someone born with a different romantic disposition was a grievous sinner, and they were doomed to hell unless they chose to do the righteous thing and change themselves at the core. I wrote every horrible curse I had thought about during that lecture, and a full page of venom culminated in saying, "So fuck you, Mrs. She-Devil, and fuck your decrepit belief system." I let it sit in my journal for 3 weeks while the rest of the prompts filled up my notebook, and before I turned it in, I had the opportunity to think on whether I really wanted to give a note full of curses and insults directly to the teacher it was aimed at. Then I remembered that she had literally asked for it, so I turned it in. The next day I was greeted and sent directly to the dean's office, where there was a photocopy of my journal entry with every curse and insult highlighted and circled sitting on his desk. He asked me what I was thinking, and I replied that I was just following the prompt. He told me I absolutely could not show that kind of disrespect to a teacher, and I said that I was only following her example. He said that I could have worded it better, and I said that I was just trying to properly convey the amount of emotion I had towards the topic. He got fed up quickly and told me I was to write an apology letter to the teacher and that I would serve Saturday detentions until he told me to stop coming. My apology letter went something like, "I'm sorry your lecture was so rage-inducing, and I served about 7 weeks of Saturday detention, but the story doesn't end there." My grades began to decline in that class, even though the quality of my work hadn't changed, and I spent my Saturday mornings in empty classrooms compiling a case to prove she was retaliating against me for my journal entry. My grade had slipped from a high to a middle by the end of my sentence, and I had a stack of papers that proved my work hadn't degraded, and I even had some assignments from my sympathizers that showed they were receiving better grades for equal or lesser quality work. So I brought these to my parents, who promptly made a shitstorm about it to the administration and on social media. The school almost immediately transferred me to the senior level course to finish my English credit fairly and to avoid more controversy. But as soon as other students caught wind that I got out of She-Devil's class, they wanted out too. And once my story had become widespread, the parents of other students were afraid that their kids' grades may be affected by her bases. By the end of that year, one other student had been transferred to the senior level course with me. By the end of the next year, multiple students had been transferred out of M's class, and by the end of my younger sister's high school education, the school had constructed a path for students to avoid taking her class entirely. Why she was never fired is beyond me, but I believe I can truly say that because of my experience, the school's entire English department had to be modded to work around Mrs. She-Devil's ridiculous disdain for anyone who disagreed with her delusional beliefs. Tilder, a teacher, went on a rant about the immorality of homosexuality on the same day we were supposed to write about a reaction to rage. She is given a paper about her own rant, and she can't let the insult slide. She retaliates, and as a result, the entire administration had to react to avoid more controversy. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe, smash the bell, and whatever else our YouTube overlords require nowadays.